In this video, we're going to take a look at converting between degrees and radians and vice versa. First of all, it's important to know what exactly radians are. Well, radians are just another way that we can use to measure angles. And if we look at our unit circle here, the angle measures, well, this would be 0 degrees or 0 radians. Those are the same. Up here would be 90 degrees. And we see that we have pi over 2 radians. Then, if we're moving around based on the degree measures again, this would be 180 degrees. Another 90 would be 270 degrees. And then finally we get all the way around on our circle, and 2 pi radians is equivalent to 360 degrees. So, there's going to be times when different formulas and different things are going to want us to work in radians rather than degrees, or vice versa. So it's good to be able to convert between the two units. The key thing that we need to know in order to be able to convert between the two units is that 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. And we can use that fact to do the conversions. So let's take this first one. It has 45 degrees and negative 45 degrees, and we want to convert that to radians. So what I'm going to do is have negative 45 degrees, and then I'm going to multiply by 1, but creatively. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take this 180 degrees and put it either over or under pi radians. And in this case, I want to convert 2 radians, so I want the degrees to cancel. So I'm going to put the 180 degrees on the bottom and the pi radians on the top. So we have pi radians up there. Then notice what happens. I'm going to throw this over 1 just so that we've got 2 fractions here so we don't get confused with anything. Notice what happens with the degrees. There's a degree on the top and a degree on the bottom, so the degrees cancel out, and we're left with just the negative 45 pi radians on top, and that's over 180. So to simplify that, let's see, we could divide by 9 on the top and the bottom. So let's do that. Divide by 9, that would be negative 5. This would be 20. Ooh, looks like we can divide by 5 again. So I'm going to divide by 5. That gives me 1. Gives me 4 there. Oops, that 4 didn't turn out very nice. Let's try that again. This gives me 4 right there. Okay, so nothing else I can simplify. So on top, I'm left with negative pi radians. And on the bottom, I have 4. So negative 45 degrees is equal to negative pi over 4. Now, one important thing to remember, as you're making these conversions, if we don't label an angle measure in degrees, it's assumed to be radians. So make sure that you're labeling your angles. If they're in degrees, make sure you label them degrees. And if it's not labeled, it's assumed to be a radian. So this one, I'm not going to put the radian here because we know that it's a radian because there's no other label. Okay, let's try this one. We have 150 degrees, and I want to convert it to radians. So again, it's going to be a similar situation, taking this important piece right here and setting it up so that the degrees will cancel out. So that means I need to put the 180 degrees on the bottom, pi radians on the top, and again my degrees will cancel out. Then I can do some simplification here. I can divide by 30 on the top and the bottom. If we divide by 30 here, that will give us 5. If I divide by 30 here, that'll give us 6. So then we have 5 pi radians, so 5 pi over 1 times 6 is 6. Okay, so we did some conversions taking degree measurements and converting those to radians. Now let's do the opposite. Let's take some radians and convert those into degrees. So going to go ahead and start out the same way. Set up our fraction here. Then we're going to multiply by this written creatively. Really, it's just 1, remember. Well, in this case, we want that pi radians stuff to cancel. So I'm going to put that on the bottom. So we have pi radians. And I'm going to put my degrees on the top. So 180 degrees on top. Notice what happens. The pi and the radians stuff are all gone. And then I can simplify a little bit. 2 goes into 180 90 times. So we've got that. And we have negative 3 times 90, which would be negative 270 degrees. Because that's what we're left with right there. Let me make that degrees a little bit smaller so it's not quite so confusing there. Okay, so let's try one more. Radians to degrees, again, pi over 6. And I want to put the radians on the bottom, the pi radians on the bottom so that they cancel. And on top we have 180 degrees. Again, the pi radian stuff gone. And we can simplify a little bit. Divide by 6 makes this 30. So all I've got left there is on top is 30 degrees. And there we go. So I made those conversions between degrees and radians. Remember, radians are just another way to measure angles. We make those changes. Sometimes there might be a case in a formula or other situations where we want to work in radians rather than degrees. Also be careful with your calculator when you're working with the degrees and radians. Make sure it's in the mode that you want it to be so your calculator is giving you what you're looking for. Hope this video was helpful. Keep working hard on your math and I know you'll do great.